Hello, my movie peeps. Appreciate you clicking on this video. The Spooky Mama season might officially have come to an end and the set has gone back to normal, but that doesn't mean we're gonna stop talking about scary things, and one of those being the downfall of the MCU, man. What happened? Well, I might be exaggerating just a bit. An article was released today detailing a bunch of things going on behind the scenes of the MCU that has really got me thinking, boy, how far have the mighty fallen? The people who scream out the words, "The MCU's in shambles," are winning today because they look to be a little bit right. So what I'm going to do here for you guys is breaking down this article by Variety, talking about some of the things going on with Marvel and a couple of changes we might see coming up in the near future. But I don't want to just be about my opinion. I need to hear from you movie fans out there as well. You hear everything going on behind the scenes with Marvel. What was the most shocking piece of news? Do you think Marvel could ever reach their peak again, or the golden days are behind us and what we got left is just, some of the true fans staying behind? Okay, so yes, this morning you might have seen a lot of people talking about the MCU in shambles because Variety put out an article titled "Crisis at Marvel, Jonathan Majors Backup Plan, The Marvels Reshoots, Reviving Original Avengers, and More Issues Revealed." That is one dang packed title, and we're gonna get into all of it. And in this Variety article, they detail events that happened this past September where Kevin Feige and a group of other Marvel executives went off to Palm Springs to do their annual studio retreat to kind of talk shop about what they want planned for the future of the MCU, some things that need fixed, and well, apparently this time around, that annual meeting turned into a big cleanup mess. Starting off with the first thing on the agenda here, the Jonathan Majors situation. In the Variety article, they say here, the most pressing issue to be discussed at the retreat was what to do about Jonathan Majors, the actor who has been poised to carry the next phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but instead is headed to a high-profile trial in New York later this month on a domestic violence charge. The article goes into further detail that Kevin Feige and the executives have already started talking about possible backup plans in case things go south with Jonathan Majors. Now, again, as you guys know, we're not a gossip site. We don't deal into other people's personal lives except when it comes into affecting the movies we watch and enjoy. So with the Jonathan Majors situation, it turned into something that his lawyers were promising the public that it would be taken care of so quickly. As soon as they show all the evidence to the judge, he'll be proven innocent and he can be let free to continue being Kang the Conqueror in the MCU, because acting-wise, I do really like him as Kang the Conqueror. But when all the evidence was presented to the judge, he looked at it and said, "I don't see innocence here. We're going to trial." And I was like, okay. Not saying he's guilty, but that casts a bit of doubt and some worry for Marvel because they were wanting to make this man the new Thanos of the MCU. It also doesn't help that court cases take months, sometimes years to get settled. It's not going to be great if while he's about to show up in the next Avengers movie, the next day we also have headlines about him appearing in court, what's going down, and whether he's proven innocent or guilty. So Marvel's plan in this article they're mentioning is to pivot. They're saying that they're strongly considering maybe going to a different villain like Doctor Doom, which, yeah, could work out. It sucks that you have all this buildup and an Avengers movie literally titled Avengers Kang Dynasty. Gonna retitle that to Avengers Doom Dynasty? I guess it's also worth pointing out, though, that Kevin Feige already had his doubts about Kang the Conqueror even before any of the legal issues came up, because the article does mention that the poor box office performance of Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania already made Kevin Feige go, maybe he shouldn't be the big bad of the MCU and we need to change things. In my opinion on that situation, it is very sticky, but looking at it from just a fan perspective, I thought they handled the introduction of Kang and his big presence as the big bad so drastically different than the way they did Thanos. Thanos only had like 5 minutes of screen time total before he finally became the big villain in Infinity War, but Kang's been showing up in the TV series of Loki, and then as a secondary villain in Ant-Man. Like, it just didn't scream giant big bad. Performance was great, but I'm like, this is just a weird way to launch him as the ultimate bad guy. So that's one thing that could change in the likely future. Kang might no longer be the big bad guy of the MCU. The next thing that they start talking about here is some of the underwhelming box office performances of their recent Marvel films, like Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania underperformed. Guardians of the Galaxy did do awesome, but I think a lot of people expected that to crack $1 billion, and it didn't. And now the upcoming Captain Marvel sequel, The Marvels, is also looking to underperform, so it's got Kevin Feige and the Marvel execs scratching their heads like, what do we do to bring back in the MCU fans? And Their idea is kind of crazy. The article says here, sources say there's been talks to bring back the original gang for an Avengers movie. This would include reviving Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man and Scarlett Johansson Black Widow, both of whom were killed off in Avengers Endgame. That is how you know Marvel has hit a new low. Now, would I see that Avenger movie opening day? You betcha sweet patootie I'd be in line. A classic Avengers lineup with all the original heroes there that I grew up loving through the early phases? Yes, please. I would love that Avenger movie, but it's so crazy that that's their mindset about how do we bring back these Marvel fans when the last phase they spent it just introducing 30 to 40 new heroes. That's the biggest problem that the MCU has been having, is just churning out content left and right, introducing so much stuff that it begins to feel like homework for a lot of fans to catch up with. I also think that's got to be the major reason why The Marvels isn't going to do as well in the box office, not just because it's a sequel to Captain Marvel, a film that the internet is convinced everyone hates, which isn't true, but I do think the fact that it's a sequel to a movie and 3 other shows on Disney Plus don't make it that appealing for someone to catch up on just so that they can see it in the theaters. I really wouldn't even know how they pull off bringing back an Avengers lineup movie, whether it's just something that happens between Age of Ultron and Civil War, a mission that we never saw. Would it just be our classic team of Avengers, maybe from a different multiverse, and we just go on with that? Or do they just mean they're gonna bring those characters back for like Secret Wars? Because I feel like that's expected. So that's one idea on the table about how to bring back in old MCU fans that have maybe jumped off the boat. Another thing going on that's been a constant issue in the MCU that maybe not a lot of people are talking about is the upcoming Blade movie. The Blade film that was announced back in like 2019 with Mahershala Ali set to star as Blade has gone through a couple of directors, 5 different writers, and every time the movie gets delayed, the actor Mahershala Ali has to continue just sitting in his house waiting for Marvel Kevin Feige to pick up that phone. You think I'm exaggerating, but that's honestly what's happening. Since Marvel is so quick with things and they just start shooting a movie left and right quick, the actors have to be available in certain windows. So this time, Mahershala Ali has passed on a lot of movies and projects he could have been in, all waiting for that Blade movie to be ready. And some of the details about what this Blade film was about to look like sound awful. The article says here, one person familiar with the script permutations says that the story at one point morphed into a narrative led by women and filled with life lessons. Blade was regulated to a 4th lead, a bizarre idea considering that the studio had 2-time Oscar winner Ali on board. And I'm like, what are you cooking in there, Kevin Feige? Do you not have your pulse on all these projects? Like, a woman-led Marvel superhero film is fine with me. I'm excited for the Marvels while most people are crapping on it. They released a clip the other day that actually looks a little fun. But when I'm gonna go pay money to see a movie like Blade, I'm expecting Blade to be the main star of his movie and not the 4th lead character. Also, Blade, I feel, should almost be like mindless blood violence with some cool action and a decent story. Life lessons? What are you doing? I read that and I was like, damn, those YouTube woke bros are gonna have some mighty fine content to make after this article, and honestly can't blame them after this. At least one bit of good news from this article mentions that they hired Michael Green, the script writer from Logan, to do the latest script for Blade, but I'm telling you, if they delay this movie even one more time, the star is gonna leave and this film might be canceled altogether. It's so sad to see Marvel struggling this hard, and I just really do think it comes down to, like, Kevin Feige does have great ideas, but they stretched him too thin when it came to the TV shows, pumping out all these movies. They had one man doing too much. It was impossible for him to keep his eyes on everything and make sure it was coming out good. If I had it my way, I would just cut the TV show stuff entirely, go back to only movies, and just have a focused storyline and plan thought out. Quantity over quality has gotten crazy with Marvel, and this article is just proof of it. Like, this is stuff you would think scoopers would reveal online. You're like, I don't believe that, but this is Variety. This is as professional as it gets in the movie news world. And really, that doesn't even touch upon the other major issues going on here. There's talks about the whole VFX unionizing against Marvel because they just continue to do last minute changes to their movies that causes them to just work so many hours, not see their families, not be happy with their job. And I feel like we have seen that. Like, you go back to movies that just came out like 10 years ago, there's some VFX 10-year-old movies that look way better than VFX today because those workers back then were given leisure time. We're given the comfort to finish the movie, where the movies today, it's like, hey, chop chop, this movie's got to be in theaters in 30 minutes. So really, truly awful. And I mean, the DC side of things aren't that much better, if I'm being honest. There's a little bit more hope there, you know, with their universe, but we got to wait till Superman Legacy. But you know what? I continue to try and stay positive and hope that they can turn things around. I'm not going to turn into a Marvel hater or DC hater. I am always wishing for the best with these studios because I enjoy these movies. They bring me comfort. It's not fun to talk trash on them, but sometimes as fans, we got to be honest when things ain't working and they need to do some changes. Anyways, guys, this is where I throw it off to you guys. You hear all these details being released from this Variety article. Like, what would be your solutions? What would you do if you got the Kevin Feige hat other than smelling it? Oh, one day. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.